So now we're going to jump into a quick lesson on the parable of the talents. And this is a parable that, boy, we can spend a lot of time on. And we are going to read the whole thing. So hang tight. We got a short lesson and then a break. So hang with me just a little bit.
Come on, bro.
Parable of the talents. So it's interesting when we talk about talents in biblical times, the talent was a unit of measure. So when it said someone got 10, 5, and 1, a talent was a specific weight. Now what the Bible doesn't expand upon is, was that measuring, and it was most likely either copper, silver, or gold. And so you can see there'd be different values. It doesn't really matter, right? Whether it was copper, silver, or gold. Common thought is a talent was worth about $1,000. Some a little more, some a little less, people think, but probably silver. Probably in our day and age, value about $1,000 per talent. But let's read the story. We'll go back and highlight 3 very quick things, and then we'll get some coffee. Okay, Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25. And if anyone's Bible talk leaders, this is one of those great parables you can whip out for a Bible talk. True. Yep.
We just kind of went over this in our Bible talk yesterday. I just realized when you said that, I was like,
well, all right. Excellent. Yeah, parable of the talents comes up quite often, but I think it fits perfectly with what we're talking about today, and life skills is all about with our talents and skills. We'll talk about that. Okay, hang tight. Here's the parable of the talents. Matthew 25, starting in verse 14. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more. But the man who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man who had the 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received the 1 talent came to the master. He said, I know you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not harvested, harvested where you have not sown, and gathered where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked and lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers. That's me. I'm a banker guy.
Amen.
And so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him who and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken from him. Throw that worthless servant outside in the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Big breath. That's the parable of talents. So real quick is and a lot of us miss this. If very few of us have been taught. So who is the guy with the 1 talent? Jesus is retelling this parable, right? Who is this guy with the 1 talent? Jesus was talking to the scribes and the Pharisees. Those were the guys with the 1 talent. They were being entrusted with the law. They were being entrusted with what God left behind, the law of Moses. They were entrusted with the law. And how did they treat the law? If you think about it, they hoarded it, and they did not use it to grow God's kingdom. They used it to constrict. You see, they used God's law and created their own laws instead of using God's law to spread God's love.
wow.
That's who Jesus is referring to. They had the 1 talent. Whereas opposed to others who really loved God. You think of the centurion, right? What was his heart? His heart, he loved God. God used him to spread the gospel. Ethiopian eunuch. These are the guys with the 10 and the 5 talents. Took the law of God in their heart and they spread it and gave it to as many people as they could. The Pharisees and the scribes, they were a close-knit group. They wanted it to themselves. They wanted control. They wanted it was their greed. That's just the backstory in that parable. A lot of us, we kind of miss that. And that's for another study. But anyway, our 3 points here. The first verse is each according to his ability. And this is where we just have to love and appreciate the Bible, God's wisdom. You know, the psalm, what's the psalm? He knit me together in my mother's womb. You know. What's that song?
139.
139?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about that, I think, in the first class with Chantel. It's like every one of you, every one of us has been made exactly how God wants us. So when it talks about each according to his ability, talking about talents. And I think this does apply to talents. It applies to whatever God has given us. So now when I die and I stand before God, is God going to hold me accountable for not being an NFL quarterback? No. Why do you say that like that? It kind of hurt my feelings. Malik was like, no, Jim, you could have done that. I really think you could have. I appreciate that, Malik. Thank you. Thank you. But most likely not, and hopefully not, because that's not even close to where I'm at. I love football. I love throwing the football. I'm not going to be held accountable for a talent or a skill I do not possess. Are there any bankers in there? Oh, Jason's a guy. Say hi to Jason Quayle. He's a banker. Come on, Jason. So Jason is he's kind of like a banker guy. Is God going to hold you accountable for all your banking skills and talents? If you don't have them, you don't. But what are your talents? So many times we worry about the talents we do not have. And that's how Satan really gets us.
Wow.
Because we all stand around looking at each other like we're in a circle, and everybody wants the person in front of them, all the way back around to the person staring at our back. And as disciples, we have to be content and understand that the way God made us was perfect.
Yep.
We may not like some of it, because we also have some faults, don't we? We have simple nature, we have character traits. And so there's that part. But what are your talents? And this is what Renee is going to dig into today that will encourage your socks off. Or your shoes if you're not wearing socks. Something will fly off your feet today because you're so encouraged with your skills.
Right.
So each according to his ability. And again, I just want to emphasize, guys, you are each awesome. You're awesome. God made you. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what your skills are. And boy, when we start talking about a career and a job, if you can learn to, I'm going to align who God made me, my talents, my skills, with a career, you're going to find success, you're going to find happiness, fulfillment. And again, it's all about we're working for the Lord, not for men, right? This is not a worldly conversation. It's not a worldly class. But as disciples, many of us feel, I just have a job. I've been there. It was like, where did I work when I was young? It's because they'd hire me and they'd pay me. That's why I worked there. I had no particular talent or skill except I'd show up on time and do what they told me to. But when you have a job, when you're in a career where you know you're using your talents, your God-given talents, you will be happy, you will be successful. Use according to your ability. You're not expected to do anything more. God did not come to the guy with 5 talents and say, why didn't you give me back 6 talents? If the guy with 10 talents came back and said, I took your 10 and I gave you 6 more, would God have been happy? No. Would that guy? No. Would the guy with 5? Yes. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You're awesome. Use your talents. And today, we're going to talk more about what they are.
Awesome.
Verse 19 says, and this kind of hit me. I never really saw this. Verse 19 says what? After a long time. What I love about this is, and I'm a banker, so if you said, hey Jim, here's $100, I'm going to come back in a long time. How long is a long time? Anyone want to guess what a long time is? 20 years. That's a good guess. I don't know. So if 20 years is a long time, as a banker, if I need to double your money, I need about 3 or 4 years. I can double your money. 20 years I can double your money at about 3% interest, 3 to 4% interest rate. It's pretty low, right? So my point is this. God's not asking us to do something crazy and out of this world. I think 20 years is a good mark. So the point is, when you feel like, oh, God's going to hold me accountable for my talents and skills, that's right. But it's not going to be tomorrow. You have time. And again, because I'm a banker, I think of interest. I think of investments and returns. And if you were to tell me, hey, Jim, here's $1 million, I want to come back in 5 years and you got to double my money. Like, man, I can't do that. That's unreasonable. God's saying, here's $100. I need you to double it. I'll be back in 20 years. Simple, wise investing, you'll double the money. As opposed to, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to stick it in the bank and earn 0.5%. Like, oh, I just get your money back. That's not acceptable because you're being lazy. Like, you're not trying. If you try with a little effort and next to no risk, you'll double the money. If you get lazy, right, you won't double the money.
Yeah.
So use your talents, but you have time. Right? This is a long journey. So whatever long journey is, I don't quite know exactly. And the third point is a bit harsh, to be honest, but it's in here. It says in verse 26, his master replied, wicked, lazy servant. And, it's a hard, this isn't 1500s Christianity where you are threatened with torment, hell, torture for all eternity. And in fact, we have a basement and we're going to torture you just to give you an idea of what that's like. Like, that's what they did. That's not, we know the Bible, that's not God's heart, right? God's heart is for us to love and be successful, to live happy lives, and to share that with others, right? But at the same time, there will be an accountability for what God has given you. And again, as we just looked at, it's not onerous. God's not asking us to do the impossible. God's saying, trust me, I've equipped you, use your talent, I'll be back in a long time. And there's an expectation that there'll be something to show for it. But it's out of love. It's like I raise my kids and I give them the chance for opportunities. If my kids are 40, 50 years old and they're watching TV all day, they don't have a good job, and they're wasting their lives, how am I going to feel about my kid? I'm going to love them, but I'm going to beat the snot out of my sons. Take them out to the woodshed. Because they've been given so much.
Right.
I expect that they do something with their lives, right? And I think in a similar way, God has blessed us with so much. And he's just asking us to be good stewards of what he's given us. And that includes our talents and our skills. So that's our quick little charge for today. Basically, use what God has given you.